Guest today is going to be speaking about dinner parties, the do's and don'ts. Fascinating guest. Let's get the party started. Really, that time of year where a lot of parties are going on at the moment, that's for sure. So let's get the rundown on Liz Taylor, the CELEB party planner. Welcome to the show. Great to have you on board.
Thank you very much. You're in my neck of the woods. I'm Manchester based, so yeah, nice to talk to you, Jimmy.
Absolutely, Liz. Liz, give us the rundown on, just for our listeners, in terms of, they're probably wondering what party planning is. Can you give them a bit of an insight into what goes into party planning?
Well, we don't have that long, but I can tell you what's going to be going into party planning this Christmas, because I think that people are much more attracted to informal dining, street food if it's a corporate event, and sort of picky bits if it's a private event. And we're all influenced at the moment by this research that the Co-op have done on the do's and don'ts and the etiquette of what they call buffet, but I can't use that word buffet, Jimmy, because I hate it. I have visions of standing behind you with my plate, looking at you piling on the food, and it's just, and then you've got the person in front who uses their hands to pick. 39% of people use their hands to pick up items, and 38% of them eat their food while they're stood at the buffet, and you're queuing to wait for it. So for me, it is go onto the internet and get really funky, cool plates, metal plates, gold, bronze, red, green, and then go and get your picky bits, your sausage rolls, your pigs in blankets, your vol au vents, all the little bits and pieces that we love, the tiny Yorkshire puddings with the roast beef inside, and display them on these plates and put them around the room. Don't have them on a central table, so that wherever I'm standing I can pick up something with a stick, not a toothpick, but a really nice sort of Christmas inspired stick, and a small cocktail napkin. And so it becomes an immersive experience, which sounds very glamorous and sort of complicated, but it's not. And let people know paper plates. You can't have paper plates. You've got to have small china plates. And on my small china plate, I'm going to put my small milk bottle, which is filled with Prosecco with a straw in, and then take a few bits and pieces. Don't double dip. You have a teaspoon where you've got your sauces. Put your sauces on the plate, and I like mustard and HP, so I'll put my 2 sauces on. And then you set. And then I've taken a few bits from one place, and I'm walking around the room, and everything's accessible. I don't have to walk back to the buffet with an empty plate or half-empty plate. And I just think it makes it a much more friendly, relaxed environment where I'm toe tapping to a bit of noddy holder, and I'm talking to friends, old and new, and I can eat for 2-3 hours, and I think it's, and also for the hostess. I mean, I don't want to be in the kitchen all night, so I've got backup plates in the kitchen where I've got my picky bits on. The beauty with all the stuff that they do at the Co-op is that you can freeze it, and so there's no wastage, and so you have backup. So all I've got to do is replace a plate, and it becomes it becomes a deconstructed buffet.
No, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, that, Liz. I mean, you mentioned there the buffet experience. I think we can all sort of relate to that, where, you got the sort of the queue, and like you said before, people sort of, kind of trying to pick and choose what they're going to eat type thing, and it can all get a bit sort of, hectic, so to speak. But I suppose in terms of, like, some of the do's and don'ts, I mean, you kind of sort of touched on some of the things, really. Is there anything specifically, like, for anyone who's going to be organising maybe their own little party or get together, some of the sort of, the key do's and the key don'ts for them to take on board?
Well, there can never be key do's and don'ts. I mean, one of the things that you have to take into account is that we're all everyone's on a health kick, everyone's at the gym, and people have dietary requirements. So whilst, you don't want to have a sort of a one plate of vegetarian food, you can do a pig in blanket that is non-meat, that is non-offensive. You can do vegan options, and you put like little notes on, this contains nuts, this contains meat, this doesn't contain meat, so you don't feel like you're segregating people people because of their dietary restrictions. And the other thing, I've got a big thing about cheese boards, Jimmy. I hate it when you go and somebody's hacked into it with a knife and there's crumbs everywhere and it's sort of all over the place. And cheese is expensive. And I think that you do 3 or 4 boards, get smaller pieces, make them a little bit of a work of art, and people can take smaller pieces. Everything's a bit smaller, but there is no less food. And I think that's probably the key to to feeding people successfully.
Absolutely, and just from an etiquette perspective, I mean, I'm sure we've all been to, a get-together, a party, or a buffet, and there's been the person who kind of just barges in type thing, and and basically sort of, I suppose everyone's sort of, maybe some people may have had a drink, some not, but generally speaking, everyone's generally in a good mood type thing. But is there any sort of things that for people to take on board really? Because I think for me, sometimes when you get that type of person that kind of just sort of barges in, in a queue type thing, or just swans around and is oblivious to anybody else being in the room type thing. But any sort of points on that, Liz, you can maybe signpost people to take on board?
Well, I think that's the key reason why I don't like buffets, because there is always that person who either shoves you out of the way, goes to the front of the queue, or has absolutely no regard for anybody else that is actually waiting to get some food. And I think that if it is spread out, and if you do have the food around the space, then that person becomes insignificant, and because he's not infringing on anyone's space. And I think that is key, and I think that's what, and that together with the big plate where you get some greedy person who's piling it on and then doesn't even eat half of it. If you use the smaller plate, you're avoiding all those potential, they're not disasters, but they're irritations, aren't they? And you watch somebody sort of pile it on, or stand in a queue all day. The person that stands in the queue is getting food and then decides to talk to somebody and is oblivious to the 5 people that's standing behind. So this way, you're working the room, you're grazing, everything is there. Everything is there for you to pick, take at your leisure. And as I said before, the co-op do. The mini mince pies they do, all the stuff that they do is cost effective. It takes you out of the kitchen, and it can create a really wonderful dining experience in a very stylish and informal manner.
Absolutely, I'm sure some of our listeners are probably getting a bit hungry now too. Speaking of food, I think I'm feeling a bit peckish myself, really. But where can you signpost people, Liz, if they want to find out some more information? Is there anywhere they can go and check it out for themselves? Well,
they absolutely can. So the co-op have their own website. It's Co-op UK, and there are loads of co-ops up north. Jimmy, I know there's one near me, and my event management company is the Taylor Lynn Corporation, which is again, we have socials and we have a website, so Taylor Lynn Corp, and you'll find everything that you need there, and hope you have a very, very happy Christmas. Absolutely. In your deconstructed buffet.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Liz. Thanks for your time. Merry Christmas to you too. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks a million. Thanks.